So I just thought, like, just have a conversation with someone, show it to them, and see if they even think it's a road you can go down. Because I know I'd have to involve the city, obviously.
Yeah. So that's funny. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, all right.
Yep.
We're really at our cabin right
Okay.
now, and Colin is on a showing with one of the
And I
players. But yes, Colin has one just closed yesterday
Personal meetings.
in Burnsville by Baker's. And we actually got by 5
Oh, sure.
And then I used to
Colin used to be the city engineer in Valley.
Oh, okay.
He also probably knows from the city standpoint maybe how to navigate that.
Colin?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. All right, and I have a Gmail.
Yeah, and I could see that, and I like the idea of certainly like the ability not feeling well that day or whatever. But I love the office.
Yeah, she has
And stuff like that. That's what it's kind of work.
It's fine.
First day, you know, like just a race not first day.
Yeah, my house has never been cleaner. You know what I mean? For sure. So,
Oh, good. Showing in this Forest Lake, so I
Oh, well, good then. Maybe
Forest Lake, so I'm gonna this thing at 2 o'clock. Yeah, just make myself at home. You'll be tired.
No, not at all.
So,
See, he's got a showing field trip and then nothing else.
yeah. All right. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
hot seat, hot time.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's actually ready. But anyway.
Does that help, Jason? He said, I'm going to throw that clock in the garbage, and I said, I will throw it away for you. Apparently it can't hold time. And it's like a $20 clock. Throw it away if you want. It doesn't hold time, you know. That's a clock every week. What's the point? How are you guys? Good.
Hey.
Say hi finally here. Good, how you doing? Sorry.
You should go sit somewhere else.
Sorry you had to hang out.
I was like, no.
I'm gonna check the resource room real quick.
Well, I was like, is it
Just be nice to have another.
I can do
And then actually, somebody that lives in Faribault just joined us, yesterday. So we'll just have a little office down there before you know it.
That sounds good.
We'll have a carpool.
You know what's actually really good?
I saw on the back, and that's all your rocket shoes.
Trouble. I mean, I saw them, I put them on, there you go. Whatever the clock. Can't be very far. Olivia.
I just threw it in the garbage.
They FaceTimed each other and left the wife's phone in the car. And they came in and the other phone so they could see the kid. Ingenious, judging a little bit.
That's a really good idea.
I'm pretty sure you get in trouble if something happens, but I like the thought.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens.
It does.
I got to sit behind.
Because then otherwise all you would do is stare at his hair.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the joke that never gets old, Shane. You're like, yeah, it does. It does get old. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hi there. Hi. How are you? Good. Hi. I was just gonna see if she was here. Well, cool. So let's go ahead and get started. So a couple weeks ago, actually I think it was in January, we agreed that we would follow the model of Gary's Mega Agent Mastermind. And basically what that is, it was a little different at Family Raven this year. I was in the room. But normally when you fly to Austin and you do a mastermind with Gary, it's literally the triangle. And what does the triangle from the MREA stand for? Say it louder.
Listings, leads, and leverage.
Listings, leads, and leverage. And what's on the base of the triangle? Say it louder.
Listings.
Leads.
I made that mistake last second.
Yeah, and by July, we're gonna have this mastered. Just kidding, we're gonna get it mastered this month. Why is leads at the base of the triangle?
If you don't have leads, you can have anything else.
You don't have leads, you're out of the business. If you don't have enough leads, that's your problem, right? And then listings and leverage. So, who has more leads than they know what to do with right now? Besides Krista. Brian? Okay, well then it sounds like the two of you need leverage. So we'll be scheduling a coaching session. Okay, so the majority of the room does not have enough leads. Okay? So what can we be doing right now to generate leads and get our pipelines full?
One thing.
Or what are you doing? What's that?
Just do one thing and do it.
Let's do one thing. So who got a lead in the last 48 hours? Krista, where did Brian, several of you, Adam, Candace, where'd they come from? Open house, past client,
Realtor.com.
Realtor.com, Boomtown, referral, okay? So when we hear all of those, what is something that the rest of us can put into place to go tackle one of those leads, or do something to get more leads?
Call your sphere, call past
Put a
clients.
database together.
Put a database together, which we're working on some of that, to help you guys, with Command. Let's back up and talk about time blocking, because I think that is like the #1 thing that all realtors struggle with. And if we were time blocking for our business, we more than likely wouldn't be sitting here going, where's my next lead going to come from? Or where's my next 10 leads going to come from? So talk to me about your time blocking. Who's following a time block calendar 100%?
100?
Besides you, put your hand up.
That guy.
That's good. You probably should get up here and teach it then. So who's following it 90%? 80%?
Depending on the week, but most of it.
Okay, we can't do any of this. So who's following
3
it
out of 5 days
70%?
for sure.
70%. Melissa, Adam, okay. Talk to us about what your time block looks like, and then I want to hear one win that you've had by following it and how long have you been following it?
Put me on the spot here.
That's okay. Don't raise your hand next time.
All right, yeah, I'll sit back too. I when I first made my first time block, I just did like the important stuff like meetings or like making time available for doing open houses, lead gen, things like that. And I found out what helped me even do better was I went more in depth and I did like, this is my lunch break, this is my time, I need to get up in the morning and read, make time in the morning to do that, and just kind of grow my knowledge, and go from there. So I went a little bit deeper than I had to originally on my next kind of iteration. I also have realized too is to be flexible with my time blocking. So last month is much different than this month is. And so I had to do a whole new calendar, a whole new schedule and change on that too. So being able to adapt to it, it's not rigid, even though it's rigid, it's, yeah.
Replacing it if you have to erase it.
Being okay with
Right,
that,
yeah, good.
You replace.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was coaching Nate the other day and I said, well, you weren't at the 3 o'clock training that you were supposed to be at. And he said, well, I had showings. I said, that's a script issue because the 3 o'clock call probably could have gotten 10 more closings if you would follow the training that you would have learned in that call versus just
Putting in at 4 o'clock.
throwing up your hand and saying, oh, you wanna go on trainings? I'll just fold over and do what you say, kind. Like, no, we're running a business here. So if you're replacing it, you gotta replace, if you're replacing it, or if you're erasing it, you gotta replace it. Yeah, good, okay. So how different does it look now?
So Mondays were originally I'd come to the office, do my normal kind of time blocking, but I'm still in the process of changing my Mondays around now because of the new month. But yeah, so now I'm shifted everything a day forward, and then I'm trying to figure out how to kill more on one end than the other. So, I mean, it's only probably 70% or 30% different, but it's, I don't really know how.
Got it. And tell us about a win that you had from implementing a time block calendar. 70%. You're not alone. There was only 2 other hands that went up at 70% of the
What
time.
did you do at 6:30 this morning?
Oh, thank you for that, yes. I joined the SHA pivot call this morning for the first time. I finally said, no, I'm doing this. It's March 1st, you're gonna start this. And so I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, jumped on the call, had my coffee, and was part of that. So
Awesome.
a big win for that.
Awesome. Good. So if you don't know about that, find it on Facebook and jump in the room. Cool. Good. Okay. Who else said kind of? Krista?
Yeah, well, I am so color coordinated with my schedule and that kind of thing, and I do, if I have my prospecting, like today is a meeting day, so I have to switch it to later in the day, which is always the most difficult, challenging day of the week. But, it's, I follow it. I mean, my schedule starts at 4:30 in the morning, I got everything blocked, I'm blocked.
So it's a lot of personal things.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, from 4:30 until 7:45 when I make my first accountability calls.
Literally every day it's the same routine.
Every day.
How many years have you been doing that?
I went coaching in 1995, so pretty much.
So I'm just looking for the youngest person in the room. You probably weren't alive at 1995. Oh, Shane, that is not you. Sit down.
And that was after 15 years of doing it the wrong way.
It's probably you, young man. What's your name?
Wyatt.
Wyatt. Nice to meet you, Wyatt. It's probably, what year were you born?
96.
Oh, yeah, 1 year old. I mean, what the heck? Jeez. I graduated high school in 1996.
Krista, when you say you made the first accountability call at 7:45, what do you mean by accountability?
I have an accountability partner from Florida
Gotcha.
that I talk to every morning.
Nice. And tell us about a win that you feel like has done for your life and business from
Well, prior to that, 15 years, 10 years I guess it was, before I started following a schedule, I was working 80+ hours a week. I'd worked very few evenings and weekends, very few, because I can remember Mike Ferry telling us you can do it in 40 hours a week, and you don't have to, you decide what hours that 40 you want to be, and it doesn't matter, you can make it work. And the year I started doing that, my income tripled.
Your income what?
My income tripled.
I'm sorry,
Going
what?
from 80 hours a week to 40.
What happened?
My income tripled.
Okay, good. Just making sure people realize that. I'm gonna write down 2 things. And that's Krista and Brian Stordahl coaching appointments. So you're not getting off the hook just because I'm not gonna remember. Brian and Krista. Okay. Let's hear all the excuses in the world as to why we're not following the time block calendar. Hit me.
We get interruptions.
Interruptions. And I don't think I spelled that right. That's okay. What else?
I think sometimes, like right now, we're pretty buyer heavy, so you kind of feel like I want to serve the customers,
so things just have to flip around and switch, and then you are, like Krista says, I would love if it was a 9 to 5 thing, but most of our buyers are in the evening, right? So.
Call old people like I do.
They're dinner at 5 like me and bed at 7. That's right. Okay, so buyer heavy, so you feel like you have to jump when the buyers say.
Well, or, yeah, we do try to do time limit, like, oh, I'll just do Friday, and then we'll just do, and we're gonna bang out like 4 or 5 houses, right? Or right now, just because, we just don't have a lot of inventory or whatever, so we just try to get it done. But yeah, I feel like when you kind of get to that point, you just feel like you're constantly. I was on a shift call
Adam.
and they were talking about, I don't know if you heard this, but she's like, don't be a Pop-Tart. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard that term.
Yep.
Yeah, so
I
the
wasn't awake
minute
yet.
that somebody calls you, make sure that you're really talking to them thoroughly about what they're looking for and what they want and their needs, and setting that strategy up with them instead of go, right when they tell you you need to jump in.
So I need to buy you and Shane some Pop-Tarts and smash them and put them on your desk so that, just Shane? So that we stop being Pop-Tart realtors. Were you gonna say something?
I'm gonna use a word that will scare a lot of people because I don't want to admit it, and it's either FOMO or fear of loss. And the underlying word is fear. The reason that most of the time that I have a challenge with my calendar is fear. That if I don't do what has suddenly come up, I will miss an opportunity or something like that. And so the underlying cause is fear.
Yeah. What's the phrase in the Bible that is said over 365 times?
That was like a divine intervention.
Yeah, as she walks in.
I'm here.
She's the
That's
answer.
right. My radar went up and said Bible.
Yeah. And I appreciate that because I think I'm working with a few of you, some in the room, some not in the room, on that. And we're losing the opportunity to be intentional about our business when we think that everything is an emergency. There's no such thing as a real estate emergency. Just because you want to lead generate for an hour and shut off your phone, shut off your stupid Facebook notifications, Snapchat, all the above. I shut all those notifications off. I'm about ready to shut off all my text notifications. Or I just need to start turning over my phone when I want to be focused, because otherwise then it's like, oh, it's lit up, But you're not building an intentional business because you think you have to be all things to everybody at every freaking second of the day. And you're never gonna go to that next level until you realize that, that's a great analogy. Stop being a Pop-Tart realtor, right? Where just everything that pops up, you just gotta handle. No. So thank you for bringing that up. Amanda.
With that too, is it setting it up front too? Like I've always just been that, like we just totally like, oh, we're available 24/7. Or this or that, like.
You're not going to the doctor at 7 p.m.
When did that become like a praised upon thing, Like would you want somebody who's emotionally stable to?
Well, I think we should just shift our whole mastermind to that, because I'm not going to lead that. Oh, that's fantastic.
So good.
Now it's getting warm in here, because I would agree that I need a little bit more of that in my life. Yes, and if you can, when you implement the right scripts into your business, wouldn't it be cool for your clients to hear, like, I already have an appointment at that time at 5 o'clock. It could be with your family. They're not going to respect it one way or another. So I already have an appointment at that time. How about 1 o'clock? And then it gives that perception, feeling, probably true that you do have an appointment at that time. It's just an appointment with your spouse or your kids. And do it at 1 versus 5. And then they're like, wow, damn, I'm not their only client. You might be, but yes.
I do another thing now.
Yes, so back to why aren't we using a time block counter? Give me all the reasons and excuses.
Because I didn't start with my vacation, my personal. And then suddenly it becomes really important that I do something to my family, and it is important. So I recognize that and start throwing away my time block, because I never time block that. Does that make sense?
So then we're just not gonna do any of it because we didn't start with that.
Well, because that's not in there, something came up, and now I'm gonna go choose my family over the time block thing, so that's just gone.
Readjust your schedule.
What's that?
Readjust your schedule.
Yeah, right, yeah,
It's a
okay.
new month.
What are all the other reasons, as to why we're not following a time block calendar to be purposeful in building a business? Brian,
Pickleball.
say again?
Pickleball.
Pickleball, okay, there you go. Did you see Jeff just won third at the, like,
I was
nationals or
there,
something?
yep. I almost got to play him for on the way to bronze.
Cool. Yeah, I go,
We got
oh,
that.
how are you walking today, Jeff? 3 days of pickleball, and he goes, I'm in such great shape, I feel awesome.
Yeah.
Jeff Norberg, if you haven't met him in the office.
So in parentheses, next to that, I would put priorities.
Priorities,
Yeah.
yeah.
Priorities, and then some people just don't like becoming.
So tell me about that then.
Just that, it's fun to be a realtor, because we have a lot of autonomy, we have free time, we can kind of do what we want, and that's great, but when you're playing 4 or 5 days of pickleball every week, all of a sudden you're like, wow, pickleball's costing me $100,000 a year, is that really worth it? So just recognizing what in your life is important, and then kind of time blocking for those important things, and making sure that you're not spending so much of your time enjoying the autonomy and the freedom that you have.
Hence this whole conversation, right? If we were following a time block calendar of 6 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. or 5 a.m., and I'm living this right now too, because I'm craving more routine in the morning versus getting up and making coffee, checking email, Facebook, Instagram, all the stupid things. Like I just ordered, does anybody in the room have the John Maxwell Leadership Bible? I just ordered that and I'm so excited. Do you guys know who John Maxwell is, right? Yeah. So he's got a leadership Bible, and I just ordered that. It just arrived yesterday. So I'm right there with you, right? I'm not preaching at you. This is a conversation, because this is real. Amanda.
I think it's balance too, because I feel like in this industry, and for me, it's like on steroids because it's just my personality, but I'm either like one extreme or the other. And I've tried to tell myself, if you'll just schedule the things, then one or the other won't get, where like I get so consumed in work that I don't focus on my family, and then like that amount of guilt and time of ignoring that catches up with me, and then all of a sudden my business, kind of sits on the sideline while I, feel like I up that family game or whatnot. So it's like,
you're not alone. There's lots of head shakers,
just
right?
finding, like, trying to find balance, where I'm like, if you did schedule, you would find balance. Like, why the heck don't you just schedule?
Who was in the room, I don't know, 4 or 5 mega camps ago, or it was mega camp, where Gary talked about the teeter-totter, and maybe I've talked about that in the room before. You know what teeter-totters are at the little playground, right, with kids? Yeah. So one sits on the end, and then the other one bounces off the ground, and it just goes like this, right? So how do you find that balance? Gary talked about what you just said, like if you're all the way over at this end, your freaking business is going crazy, and so your personal life is up here flying around, or the opposite side, family over here, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, I don't have anybody in my pipeline. Who's gonna either buy or sell in the spring? I got nobody. And so he talked about just figuring out how to get to the middle of the teeter-totter, where literally, if this marker, you can't see it, but if this marker was the middle, the only way, if there was no kid on either one, the only way to stay stable, it's good workout on the legs, stand in the middle, but literally you can perfectly balance a teeter-totter if you literally get counterbalance in both of those. So that's the whole point of this discussion, is how do we have counterbalance, right? So in order to get off of that teeter-totter, what do we think we need to do? How do we do that? What's that 1% better that we can do today, and then 1% tomorrow? I'm gonna give a chance for somebody else to answer too, Krista. 1% better every day, how do we do that? So before Krista answers, who's got an answer?
I think for me, it would be just starting with like one thing, putting it on my calendar, and making sure but even if it's, because my problem is, I'll wake up at 6:30, but do I get up? No. Do I get lost in the Facebook scroll, or, all that other stuff, and then I look up like, oh, now I gotta get, so if I just start with the one thing, like, okay, I get up at X, Y, and Z and do this, like do that, and then build on it.
And then in 2 weeks, you'll have everything done from 6:30 to 11 o'clock every day that matters the most. The 20% that brings you the 80%. Okay, that's one thing. What else? Yes, Adam.
I have to say, I'm getting more and more comfortable with saying no to people when I have it time blocked. and saying, I have other things, but can we do this? And so it's just, every day I struggle with it, but I keep practicing.
And when you continually do that, before you know it, all of a sudden, you're gonna be living your life, not someone else's. Right, so you're saying yes to only the things that matter. So when you say yes to everything, when you say yes to everything, you're also saying no to pretty much everything that matters in your business and your life, right? Yes, Jason.
Let me talk a little bit about that, because I was a person who used to have trouble with those sorts of boundaries.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to make everybody happy and do the things that people wanted and things like that.
People pleaser.
And it wasn't until I set up a set of rules for myself, because I'm a rule follower. When can I say no?
Half of us just went, oh, rule follower.
When can I say no? And once I kind of established what things were important, like this is my calendar, I can't say no. I can say no if it conflicts with my calendar. I can say no if you've given me less than this amount of time to respond. So as I started thinking about the places and reasons that I might say no, it became a lot easier to set effective boundaries. I had to kind of think through what the things were that were causing me those issues. So that's how I started that path, being able to time block, because time blocking really isn't, it's about valuing your values. And it starts with why. Why do I do what I do?
It's exactly what I was thinking when Candace said, I get up at 6:30, but do I really get up at 6:30?
And then understanding my why, and then having the boundaries in place so that I can say, sorry, this doesn't fit my time.
So good. Would you share what those boundaries are? Or did you kind of just like,
Well, in a high level overview, a lot of them are things like, well, I know what my big why is, and my big why is I truly enjoy impacting other people's lives. I mean, that is super important to me. So 6 o'clock in the morning when that alarm goes off, because my alarm actually goes off at 5:42. I can hit snooze twice, and then at 6 o'clock. I like a little more, I like to be able to think about it a little bit, right? But I know that I like to, so that's the plan. So I get up at 6, but at 6 o'clock, when I pivot out of that bed, as I'm pivoting out, I'm thinking, the first thought in my mind is, somebody out there, I can impact them today. That's why I've got to get going. Wow. Because I might miss a chance to do that. And so that's where I start with why. But then the boundaries start to come in with, I can't be effective in my own life if I'm not happy and I'm not healthy. And so certain things I have to schedule in there to do that. If I don't do those things, it starts to impact me very quickly. I'm not engaging in the things that are important to me and finding that balance between my personal stuff and my professional stuff. That sometimes they do conflict. And I also have to understand that. So I'll give you a good example. I have what I affectionately call a nerd night that happens every other Tuesday. It happens at 5 o'clock every other Tuesday. So I have to speak with my boss and say, hey, it'd be really cool if I could light out every other Tuesday at 4 p.m. so I can make it to their 5 o'clock thing. So that's the boundary. But then on the other side, it's a very, very, very important meeting that came up. It was going to be on a Tuesday. So I had to think about that and say, all right, what matters and what doesn't matter. I can miss this one because I go all the other times. And this thing at work is super important. I need to put that first because there are no other options. And so what are the choices there and how do I make them, right? And so that time, look, this is a once in a lifetime kind of thing at work. I have to do this.
Jason, the most impactful thing about what you just said is that as realtors, sometimes I feel like we don't have control, that we are just spinning plates and at the mercy of our clients or other realtors or whatever, but you just took back the power. You have the power to say, okay, I'm not gonna go to nerd night because I'm gonna do this meeting because I go the other 25 times or whatever it is.
Exactly.
We do have power. We have an illusion that we don't have power.
And so, and that's where that when I talk about setting boundaries for myself, what are the rules that I can say yes or no, right? If somebody just comes up and shows up and says, hey, I want to talk to you extra on Tuesday, sorry, buddy, I gotta go. You had plenty of time to talk about this all day Tuesday, all day Monday, all day Saturday, all days before. This suddenly crops up now, unless it's like a super emergency, like the building is collapsing, all right, things gotta change. But if this is an issue that can be solved at any point in time, it's not on my priority list if I have something else.
And I, yes, so good. I think that right now, when all of our businesses are a little bit slower, and I don't want them to be, for me either, and they are, right? This is a really good time to get implemented, the boundaries, be reminded of your big why, get your calendar time block, even just one step at a time. So guess what, Candace, at 6:30 tomorrow morning, I'm gonna be texting you. And I'm gonna say, are you out of bed yet? And you have time to like it's, you know.
Changing the date.
I'll be with my trainer, so I'm gonna have to.
Olivia, this is why we don't share things with you.
Well, okay, that's fair, so maybe I won't text you. Amanda.
I had another thing that I need to get back to doing again, but it's super helpful when it came to like balance too, is I would keep a notebook like on my nightstand, and then at night there's always seems to be something that I'm like, I need to get that done today and I didn't or whatnot, and I try to keep those like 2 business and 2 personal things that I need to get done, and then I'll write those down, and then that's really like, nothing else tomorrow should really happen until I get those things done, otherwise for the whole week I go to sleep thinking about those same, those same 4 things.
Yeah.
So that has been
I have to go
helpful.
back to that. I loved it when I did that.
Yes,
Cause I didn't think about it when I
Right.
actually slept.
right, I know, and then
Yeah.
we stopped doing
I
it. Why,
I have
don't know.
no, I still have the journal there.
I mean, I
It's
do
in my
too, I'm just
drawer.
not using it, so I need to like use it again,
Yeah.
but it just is helpful to kind of know what really stops you from sleeping at night, right?
Right.
I mean, and get those things done.
Were you gonna say something, Jamie?
I was just gonna ask you, is anyone familiar with the Stephen Covey 4 quadrants?
No.
Right, well, it was just such a,
Here you go.
if we, all right. All right, so he's got 4 quadrants. This is what helps me be better at time blocking, even though I got a long ways to go. So he's got his 4 quadrants. This is quadrant 1, and this is urgent. This is not urgent. Sorry for the writing. This 2, 3 is not. This is, I'm just go important, not important. Not. Important.
Wow.
Wow,
All right.
okay. We'll download the image off of Google and we'll send it in an email to you.
That's super helpful.
And it won't be this image.
Well, this works out better because you'll understand.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so the way I finally figured some of this out is, this is the quadrant we want to live in, because it's not urgent stuff that we're doing yet, it's important stuff. And that is what Jason shared, stuff that's gonna keep you happy and healthy, and things that you're doing for your business. The more we time block here, set our big rocks, the more we time block here for what's important, nerd night, cold calling, whatever it might be, the more we do this, the less we spend here. And this is putting out fires. This is being urgent and important. Because we didn't do it here, we're spending a lot of time in quadrant 1 trying to put out all the fires, chasing everything. Exactly what you said, balancing all the different things. So what happens when we spend all that time in this quadrant? We go right to 4, which is not urgent and unimportant. That's like Netflix. Right? That's going right to the couch and zoning out. So then we wind up going back and forth here and here. This is stuff like phone calls that aren't really important, that you think are urgent. But the point
Facebook,
is,
checking Facebook.
thank you. All this stuff, checking emails, time block when you're gonna look at your emails. Make it effective. But the point is, the more we time block for what's most important in our lives for our business, the time that gets set aside, the less we are here.
Yes.
And this is where we burn out. This is when real estate royally sucks. This is when life sucks.
That was me in December.
What's that?
This
you
was
in
when
December?
That was me in
Amanda
December,
December,
yeah. I look just like your portrait up there.
Girl, we've all been there.
Yeah, I'll throw it.
So, if any of you have trouble, why am I time blocking? Well, this is why. Because you don't want to get into this pattern.
Oh, that's good.
One of the other things Stephen talks about is you're working through those urgent important issues. Let's not pretend that they're not there. They happen and they come up. But one of the things we don't do is we ask, how did it get to here? And we're not once you've resolved it, how did it get to here? And what can I do to ensure that it ends up in the not urgent category? Because typically it's something that's been there all along, and then it just kept waiting, and we kept looking at the timer, and then finally it blew up. And that's the critical element as you're working through that, because I gotta do my Christmas shopping is not urgent. It's been there for a year. Right? But I mean, but it happens, and then all of a sudden it's a Saturday before Christmas, and now this is urgent.
Yeah.
But it's always been there. And that's the real challenge that we run into, is we're not just looking at today, but also looking just enough ahead that what can I take off the plate that I can do, that I can control the time I do it, instead of waiting for it to explode on me. Because when you wait for that Saturday, then you're gonna get to the store and find out the thing you wanted to buy is out of stock. So now you gotta go to 3 different stores to try.
Does anybody else feel personally attacked right now with the Christmas comment?
Hey,
That's
30
me.
years of retail, that's all I'm telling you.
Yeah, right.
I've been on the other side.
Yeah, Jason, I'm glad you brought it full circle. Now I know why we were listening to Christmas music when we came in today.
There you go.
Shopping's
There you go.
I love it.
And when all of a sudden you're running around doing the stuff that you could have just gotten done, that's when all these other things pop up. It never just happens, oh, okay, I got this one urgent thing, right? Oh, that's when the buyer things happen, that's when you get the weird call from your daughter who's got an issue or something like that. That's when it all hits the fan. So like you said, it's important, if we're living here, what happened, put it in here, time block for it. But this is, we had a time block here for the people that we're doing this business for. Who are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Are we doing this for the buyers and sellers? We are doing it to make an impact. We are doing it to make grow a business. But we're doing it for our family. We're doing it for people we love. Right? We're doing it for me, a relationship. Right? So if I don't time block that time, I get here. And learning this role, I've been here a few times. Have to recheck and go back there. So please, let's do some time block.
Good. Okay, so what else? Thank you, Jamie, that was good. We'll send both this picture and the picture off of Google.
Send it to Stephen Covey.
I don't think I'll do that. We'll say, hey, man, can you add this to your next book?
I think one thing that I struggle with is I think we name ourselves, our self-awareness is maybe off, and so I've labeled myself, I'm spontaneous, I like to live spontaneously, and then I can operate just fine that way, when actually, I know that if I schedule things in and I make lists and I plan out I'm speaking, what I'm speaking about or whatever it is, I get so much better. But I think it takes more effort and more work.
Yeah.
To do that, and I'm in the middle of coming from being a stay-at-home mom to do this, so trying to, life has been spontaneous and just I'm momming, so then I'm moving from that into being intentional with my time and being okay, I have to go in my room for a minute while you play out here, you know what I mean? It's just a hard transition, and it's easy to label ourselves, our personalities a certain way, when actually that's maybe not.
Let's being more, like you just said, the word intentional versus, spontaneous. And if we can become intentional and have these, sets of boundaries and making a priority list. I wrote down to include in the email out after this today or either tomorrow morning. There's somewhere in KW, there's a document that helps you prioritize all of your to-dos, and literally you can brain dump everything on the left, and then it's your highest ROI items then get taken from the list and put over here, right? So whatever's going to be the highest return on investment of your time that goes over here besides your lead gen, what's going to drive that, and then you can kind of level out your priorities, so not feeling like everything is so urgent. So what's that?
I'd love to see that document.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna find it. Okay, so who wants to be, I just feel like between now and April, how do we just not take this conversation and put it, I don't even know what time it is because I threw the clock in the garbage because Jason said it didn't work. It's 1:06, so I just picked it up and threw it in the garbage and wrote down the half picture.
What a waste of time.
Maybe
What a waste of time.
you just need the battery.
He changes it every week. That's good. So, yeah,
Those
it's a
are my
$20 clock and we're just gonna get it. So I'm not looking to wrap this up, I'm just saying, like, how do we, we've got time still. How do we move this conversation forward with action so that we get back here, you know, the first mastermind in April and like we didn't do anything.
Talk about what Candace said, and let's just start with one thing.
Yep.
Because the secret to building effective habits isn't to build effective habits, it's to build an effective habit. Once you've built that habit, then it's habit stacking. It's all right. Every morning I successfully complete the task of brushing my teeth. I really do. I'm pretty excited about it. Every morning I brush my teeth. But now that I've got that in place, what's something new that I can do that happens right after I brush my teeth? Well, right after that, I take a shower. After that, now I get up at a time that I can eat breakfast, so I prepare breakfast. As many of you know, part of that process for me of preparing breakfast is I make something for Kelly, because it's super important to me to start my day with giving back to somebody else. So I start there. After that, what is the next thing that I want to do? I want to read. Perfect. Got my breakfast down. Now is a great time to do 10 minutes of reading or 30 minutes of exercise. And once I've got that process down, I'm comfortable with it, I can add another thing. And you just got to figure out what that piece is for you. Maybe it's the morning. Most people, if you really want to truly take control of your life, morning is a very sacred time.
Should we go grab an MRE?
I will second that, like if I, for some reason, am up as early as he is, and like the other day I was, and so I came down to the kitchen, I knew the kitchen was a mess, and his anxiety goes to here when the place is a mess, so I start unloading the dishwasher, and he just looks at me like, you're in my way. You are, you know, or like if I come down and I'm like, oh, I'll help him out by feeding the dog. Well, I've just messed up his entire routine, you know.
So stay in bed.
So stay in bed, I guess. That's the message there.
Kelly, my husband and I literally had the exact same conversation. Thanks for helping me. You're kind of messing up my group.
Yeah, Jessica.
I think the book, The Miracle Morning, that's a good one to kind of revisit. And like Jason said, it's one thing at a time. Like I came back after winter break and was like, I'm gonna do all these things, right? And I couldn't do it, right? Because it was so much change in one day. I'm like, oh. So then I did one, and it was listening to Pivot Shift, right? And then after that, I'm like, okay, I get on at 7, and now the next goal is I'm gonna be on camera. And the next goal is I'm gonna get on at 6:30. And then I'm gonna be on camera, because if I'm on camera, I have to be up and awake and, right? But it has to be one thing at a time. It can't be, boom, I'm just gonna be a totally new woman tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't
That's
matter.
like everything from
Right.
6 in the morning until 6 p.m.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to share, which Jason does a really good job explaining it, so maybe I'll have him do it, but when you talk about the, how much you like to help people, and the fact that when you decide that you're not gonna call people for lead gen, you're taking away the opportunity to help people because they need you. And in order to do that, we get in our heads and we're like, I just, like I haven't talked to them in X amount of years. They don't care. They're not thinking what you're thinking. They're thinking, this is amazing that you called me. Like, did you call me because this house is for sale next door? I'm like, no, I called you because I want to talk to you. And they're like, oh my God. Right? It's all that mindset shift and remembering that you're helping them.
Yep. I also wrote down so I wouldn't forget, make sure that you don't watch any TV today, Jessica.
I know.
And
I reached out to everybody on that list.
Have you watched TV today? Good.
I reached out to everyone on that list, and Adam was the only one who responded.
Okay, yeah, so there were, how many of you from?
Hey, feel back.
I haven't watched
It's on there. Go back, don't take it off.
It's John Hoffmeister, Kim Lindgren, Adam, Candace, me, and Steve.
Well, Steve's not doing it because he's doing March Madness. So, those of you that were in the room for KW Wealth, these are the people that are doing the 75 hard. Now, not the workout 75 hard, no alcohol, a gallon. No, absolutely not. The KW Wealth 75 hard, which is what? No TV.
Meet with a coach, well, somebody above you that you want to learn from.
Weekly or daily?
Once an hour weekly. Somebody at your level that you want to work with and kind of collaborate with, and then somebody below you to kind of help bring up and and
Yeah.
teach and educate.
Yes, there's reading as well, right?
And then there's the reading.
Daily,
Anything else?
45 minutes of financial and 45 minutes of self-help.
Yeah. No
Hold
TV.
on.
This is all for 75 days. Good job.
Somewhere.
Okay, so does.
I watched all the shows this weekend.
I should go sit now, or do I need to send them a message? Just shut
Watch
up.
them leave here, something I could do.
They're over here talking about Netflix, they're gonna watch that. Okay, so let's talk about something that I think on this whole conversation that can be helpful from the MREA, which is the energy plan. Who knows what the energy plan from the MREA is? No? Okay, it's page 308. It's called the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Energy Plan. And Gary says if you time block these things, now I know we're talking about starting with one thing, maybe you can pick one thing from here and time block it, and then once you have that mastered, pick a second one. But these are the things that millionaire real estate agents do, people that net over $1 million a year when it comes to their energy. Number one is meditate and pray.
So what?
Meditate and pray, which is your spiritual energy. Number two is exercise and eat, which is your physical energy. They're all energy, so I'm not going to write the word energy behind everyone. Hug, kiss and laugh, which is your emotional. Number four is plan and calendar.
No way, we're not practicing right now.
What did you say?
Yes, if we can practice right now.
Yeah, come here, Wyatt. Yeah, but we can practice after
You
class.
live with
Yeah.
me, stay off.
Oh, yeah, he's gonna kiss Jamie. And lead generate, which is your business. This was mental, by the way. Ideally, you're having all of those done by noon every day, right? And if you happen to live alone, come to the office every day, because there's enough people around here that will give you hugs and kisses on a daily basis.
Or get a dog.
I just, one thing I
Or
probably
kiss
could add
your
to
dog,
that,
sure.
that is very helpful, is get up at the same time every day.
Yeah, and then maybe that's just what you start with. Maybe that's the one thing that you walk out of here with if you're not doing that, is you just get up at the same time every day. Literally the same time, whether it's 5:42 or if it's 6 o'clock, you're just getting up at the same time every day. And that's just the first hurdle. That's the one thing, that's the one habit to master first before you can go on to the rest. And yes, who has said kiss your dog?
I wouldn't have.
Yeah,
Can you say something like 8 o'clock instead of like 5:40 or 6 a.m.?
whatever time you, whatever time you choose, Ann, and completely. Yeah, my time and Jason's time doesn't have to be your, like, pick your time, but then do it.
I was just.
No, I know. Okay, what else? Who's gonna do something? Do you have one thing in mind that you would, I'm not gonna ask you to tell me, because then of course I'll hold you accountable and you don't like that, I'd say. But do you have one thing in mind that you're gonna do? To time block, just one. Okay,
I wanna create, follow-up Fridays.
Follow Fridays.
Start there.
Love it. What's that gonna look like?
Just making a whole bunch of calls and texts and following up with people on Fridays. Like, I really like the takeaway of when somebody has a life event and they post it on Facebook, to really zone in on that.
Yeah.
Make a comment and maybe send them a card or whatever it looks like, so.
Yeah.
If you instant message them like privately, it'll actually help your algorithms.
Oh, wow.
So, is what I took away from.
Family reading? Oh, cool. Good. Well, there you go.
From one of the classes.
Brian, I bet we'll start doing that. Somebody else put their hand up. No? One thing? No?
I came up with an idea.
Yeah.
Please roll back Thursday to go off of your idea of calling somebody you haven't talked to for 20 years that you sold a house.
Love it.
We
That's
can
a great one.
follow Fridays,
Yep.
Even if it was 3 years ago and you.
Pretty soon we're lead generating. What?
Yeah.
Lead generating.
Wow.
Johnny, anyways, like we're as mega agents, we're not gonna get away from that, are we?
So we could lead generate every day.
We're just gonna call it something else, so we trick our brain.
Yeah.
Trick it however you need to, you just gotta do it. Someone else over here. Oh, goodness.
actually get up.
Actually get up. Okay, so 6:30 the time?
She wants.
She's like, I don't know, I think I'm gonna change it to 8 o'clock for Olivia.
No, I'll be up, but I just need to like actually get up, like.
Well, and I think Jason
Inspiration.
played it when we said this.
Yeah.
So you need to change your mindset, like, oh, I got it, and I'm not speaking just to you, this is probably to many in the room. When your alarm goes off, you need to stop thinking about, oh, I gotta get out of bed, to go, you know what, I'm gonna change my kid's life by getting out of bed today and getting shit done so that I can move our family forward. And I know that's a really big priority of yours right now, which is why I said it, right?
Candace, are you familiar with Mel Robbins and her 5-second rule?
No, but I
like her rule.
What is it?
Isn't it like you have 5
Love her.
seconds to do it and then you're supposed to go?
It's like when you, your mind will, if you wait too long, your brain will talk you out of doing whatever it is you have to do. So you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm preaching like I've done this. I mean,
Kelly counts to 105.
Jason's in the room.
Jason's over there just gonna.
Even if I did it, I wouldn't be counting out loud. He wouldn't even know, so. What's that?
I'd already be 3.
Right. But basically, you give yourself 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and before you get to the 1, you are up and out of bed and doing the thing, so you don't give yourself time to talk yourself out of it. So in your 75 hard, if you can do audio, I love listening to Mel Robbins audiobooks because she reads them, and it's not like she just reads them, she like has emotion in it, and it's like you're having a conversation with her.
I've actually done that. Somebody turned me onto that book and it's made a difference for me, but I needed to know why. Like, why does that happen? And it's within 5 seconds, your brain will actually.
She talks about the science. I couldn't tell you what it is, but she
Yeah.
says there's a science behind it, and she explains
And
what
then
it
it made
is.
sense because it wasn't just a rah-rah, but it's like after 5 seconds, if you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I don't want to work out, I don't want to do this, now your mind turns into flight. There's something wrong here, it doesn't want to do it, so that's why you don't get out of bed, and then that's why you don't do that, and then you feel like crap later. But if you just do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 blast off, she said, or whatever it is you want to say, you can't go 1 to 5, it's got to be 5 to 1. And then you get up, and then you're in action, and then your brain doesn't go that way, and actually it doesn't suck to work out, it doesn't suck to have.
There is a scientific study that if you hit the snooze button and go back to sleep, you actually need to sleep for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your body you convince your body that you're going back to sleep and you never fully wake up. And so you either get up when you wake up or you sleep another 90 minutes.
Okay, Candace, you gonna get up at 6:30 or are you gonna sleep till 8?
Or set your alarm 90 minutes early.
8 o'clock sounds great.
But my body physically won't do that.
But your body won't, so 6:30 it is.
It's just like I said, I get lost in the
Yeah.
scroll and.
Well, so then put your phone in the kitchen.
It shouldn't be in your bedroom.
It shouldn't be next to your bed anyways, and I can usually acquire that because mine is too, but then you can't scroll on Facebook in bed if your phone is.
It's so true, and if you have to get, it's like putting your alarm clock on the other side of the room, then
You have to get up to
bed in
shut
order
it
to
off.
get to your alarm clock. We just literally bought an old school alarm clock so that we can keep our phones on the other side of the room. And not have, that distraction at night, in the morning, I mean, all the time.
I just started this, where I have it go like from midnight to 7, but on my phone, just that it shuts all sounds off.
Yeah.
And I actually did it to my husband's phone last night without telling him.
Nice.
Because he gets his email, he has his phone ting everything.
Oh.
And so I said,
Yeah.
I know it's interrupting my sleep.
No.
I forgot I didn't tell him that I changed the sounds too. A little bit softer.
He's gonna have a bunch of
write that
messages.
down, tell him what I did at 1 a.m. last night.
Amber.
I get a little plug for Jamie. He's got me on my 3 time blocks that I started. I'm doing 2 of them pretty well.
Great.
And the other one I'm still working on, but then that's just my personal life to get that balance there. But the other day, I started doing actual lead gen. I've never ever done it. I've only done it once, Olivia.
I know, but that's okay.
The point is-
That's one more time than you did before.
Right, but
That's exciting.
I was on such a high after I got off those phone calls. And I only made a few phone calls because what I did is I cleaned up my desk and I took it home because we were gonna have a snow day. So I'm gonna take all this home and I'm gonna go through all the stuff. I was like, I'm gonna make a stack of all the people I haven't talked to lately. And I did, and I went through I started calling, and there was this one guy, I was like, oh my gosh, my heart was racing, because I don't want to call him, like, and I just mentioned a mutual friend of ours, and and he's got a house that's gonna be, you know, for us, our area, it's gonna be probably like a $500,000 sale. He's like, well, you need to send me your business card. If you're a friend of so-and-so's, you're a friend of mine. And he's like, and he's like, and I don't mean a birthday card, I mean a business card. And I'm like, okay, well, of course I put his birthday down. He's like, by the way, my birthday is December 3rd. Guess who I'm gonna be sending a birthday card to? So it was just so easy. I was like, this is really fun. And I was energized after that. I called Brandy, my assistant, and I'm like, I had the best day today. And she's like, well, what did you do different? I said, I actually called people and.
I worked, yeah. Lead generator.
I did my job.
It was
right?
exciting.
Exactly.
And my other, trying to get that balance back is, I'm getting there, Jamie. So I'm.
Would you share what the 2 time blocks are without like going into details, like the personal
My
things?
devotions in the morning. And if I feel like I'm running behind, then I just put on Joyce Myers or somebody like that in the morning when I'm getting ready, and I'm getting that in. And but if I don't have time to actually sit, I would prefer to sit with my coffee and take 20 minutes to do that. And then my other one is family time. And so I've always said I don't work on Sundays, but I'm really trying hard to commit to no Sundays, although I did come up here for a meeting Sunday with somebody, but I am doing way better. And if I know I'm gonna have to work on Sunday, or then I make sure that I push that time to Saturday, that there's no work. And
Good.
I might
Erase,
see things
replace.
come through and I'm like, I'm not answering it, I don't need to answer it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm getting better.
Good job.
Yeah, because I have really let work overtake my family time. So.
Give her a hand, that's amazing. But you know what, you took action. And you're like, it's only one day. No, that's a really big deal, because not only is that a $500,000 sale, you said you were energized, you called Brandy about it, like, wow. So now if you can just do every calls tomorrow, you know, and it just, but that was the one step, that was the domino that you needed to move, to move
And now
that part
I've got Brandy on a plan
forward.
that she's gonna give me so many contacts every day that I have to call. And I've realized I actually enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it, so.
And you've never had to do it in your business ever before.
I haven't, but yeah.
So this is sphere and past client calls then? Okay.
Yeah, or
They're
just
the
people that, like, maybe I've had one interaction and they never did anything, so I saved their name and like I'll follow up with them, like, and so I
Good
just
job.
went through old files and I'm like, yeah, actually, we're gonna start looking again this spring, and I'm like, okay, well, let's get doing that.
Good job. Amber.
So, yeah, so actually I revitalized 2 on that same day, so, yeah.
Good job, Amber. Jamie.
One of the things we learned in Bolton, and if you guys don't know quite where to start, if you're gonna start time blocking something, what is the one thing that's gonna affect everything that you can improve on? So I was thinking about that recently, so I'm gonna time block filling out all that information, get my blood drawn and do nutrition, because I am not very healthy. So, but I figured that's what's gonna help me be better at this role. It's gonna help me be a better hubby, better daddy, and well, then you're already good looking, but maybe better looking. So it'll help me in every area. So I encourage you to do that. Oh, I'm really humble.
We talked about this in January, right? And there's a few of you in the room that took action on your health because you shared what you did from that conversation. But remember our conversation in January, for those of you that were here, it was all about health. We have one body, we have one temple. And if we're not healthy, whether it's the weight, whether it's our cholesterol, whatever it is, none of the other stuff matters, right? And it all happened after my friend had a stroke during the middle of a routine hip replacement, and now he can't see. And their life is completely flipped upside down. And Colin and I, looked at each other that weekend. We were at the cabin and we thought, you know what? We have got to get our shit together. We have got to get just multiple things in our life together, and we've made significant progress. So don't wait for something major like that to happen either in your life or a friend's life. Get it going now. And whatever that means, just one thing, when it comes to your health, do that. Because if you're not healthy, business doesn't matter. You won't be there for your kid's graduation or your grandkid's 7th birthday or whatever it might be.
So not help, but going back to the phone and having the time, like your phone is silenced, I've gotten really good at that, like from day till morning. But I need to now commit to do that during personal time. like family time, like Amber was saying. And I had a little divine intervention last night at the basketball game because my phone actually died. Because during my daughter's section game, home game of her senior year, had an offer come through, and what am I doing? Sitting there going like this, trying to deal with this offer, get over it, also my phone died, and I went, all right, got it. Like it was totally, because I've said I'm not gonna do that, but you know, I saw it come through, I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it, I'm just gonna do it. And then there was a timeout, and I'm like, okay, I can look at it really quick during the timeout, and then I can shoot it over to them to get signatures, and then my phone died.
And it just takes a second, but it annoys your family to, right?
Oh,
They see
Well,
your
it
son
does,
and they're
it's
like,
not fair, like, what's not fair to me,
Well, yeah,
like,
what if
you
she-
know,
what if
then
she
I
would've-
was
What if
tipped off
what
because
if
I
she would
missed
have
it.
made a
Exactly.
shot at that time,
Yep.
it would have been the last one of her senior year, you missed it.
Right, so I just have to say it out loud, because then that'll
Yes.
make me do it, because we have
Yes.
a lot more of those moments in the next 3 months that, you know, I won't get back, so.
Yeah, oh.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's, but that matters. That matters, and had you not shared that,
Right.
you might be doing the same thing again, and now that you said it, you have a whole room of people that are gonna be with you as warriors on that journey over the next couple of months. We love you, Trisha.
We say it takes a second, right? But it stays on our mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if we have it off, we don't even know we got that ping. I didn't even know I got that weird
Right.
note from Wyatt or something.
Jason.
Multitasking hint is that we can multitask. Every study of the brain says it takes 15 minutes to focus. If you engage in another task, it will take you another 15 minutes to get focused on the new task. And then another 15 minutes to get focused on the task you used to be on. So any small interruption like that, you're removing yourself from everything for extended periods of time. We want to believe we can multitask. But the reality is, every single study that exists, you are not performing at your peak on either task. Is the reality. So be where your feet are.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. I mean, every time I prospect, I put my voicemail at the office and my phone, and I just say, I will be tied up. I'll be returning phone calls at 11 or whatever time it is. And that's all people want to know is when will you get back to them?
Yep.
And nobody's had I've never had anybody have a problem with that. And sometimes if they have a problem when they're calling, they'll already have it solved by the time I call them back.
Yeah, or if they have a problem with you not getting back to them for 2 hours, then chances are you don't want to work with them anyways.
Exactly.
Pound sand, move on to somebody else. Jessica?
Yeah, I was gonna, it's super hard to talk about, but bring up the lady that we met in California. So my family has had, my grandpa had his first heart attack at 38. And he lived until he was
sorry,
80.
sorry, yep, took me a second.
Barbara.
Yep, Dr. Barbara.
So he had his first heart attack at 38. He had to have angioplasty multiple times because of the amount of plaque in his arteries. And he ended up making it till he was about 80. And when we went there, and I had the test, I'm at a level 4, which means my arteries are
a little clogged up.
black.
Yep, there's a little plaque.
And the arteries are not strong. You know, and when I told my husband, first off, he goes, why didn't you tell me earlier? Because it was Thursday and I got back Tuesday, and I was like, well, I was afraid. Right? But he said, it's like your arteries are like a garden hose that's been sitting outside in the sun. And so that plaque can go away. But that doesn't mean that your arteries are suddenly going to be healed. And so you have to take care of yourself. And so then I kind of tied that whole Ed Milet thing with everything. And I thought, you know what, it's just one more cookie I'm not going to eat. Or it's one more thing I'm going to turn down. Because food is the biggest thing that can help me get better, right? And then I learned that I can't do high impact exercise, strenuous stuff, because a piece of that plaque could break off and cause death, right? And so it's my kidney stone nurse that I see every week, she said, the thing is, if we could see what our bodies look like from the like if we were just invisible, we could see those kidney stones or we could see those arteries, we'd be like, damn, I am so not gonna eat that, right? Like we would be thinking about it constantly, but we can't see any of it.
We oftentimes just ignore it because we don't want to know the results, or we say we can't
Correct.
afford it. And the thermography scan was $350.
I mean, that in the stress element, I think too, Jess, is, you know, like we put so much, I mean, because obviously it's a struggle, but
so much emphasis on we do need to have a healthy diet and all these things, but I think for a lot of us too, it's stress. You know what I mean? We've got to find ways to better control that, which I think kind of goes back to all this too, right? Being intentional, making, happen what is important to happen, and that was very, very.
The quick backstory for those of you that weren't at family reunion to know what Jessica's talking about. Thank you for sharing. I just Googled, I sounded horrible when I went to family reunion. I got kind of the crud that was floating around, and I didn't have a fever, I didn't have COVID, I didn't have any of that crap, but I just the energy wasn't there, and I was starting to lose my voice, and I had a really bad cough. So Scotty and Amanda and I and Jason, Kelly and Toddy and Jess went out on Thursday morning, and I had Googled ozone therapy, mobile ozone therapy, so I could have somebody come to the hotel on Friday to do ozone therapy for me, along with the vitamin drip, so that I could hopefully get some relief from that. And so I found this gal, Dr. Barbara, and just a sweet lady, but she came for our ozone therapy, and then she started telling us about this machine that she has that takes 2 minutes. You just put on one of those little, you put your finger in the little thing, whatever, like you do at the doctor, thing. What is it called?
Pulse ox.
Yeah, that thing. And then it scans your body and it tells you if you have plaque in your arteries. And so she literally drove home 45 minutes and came back with the machine, and then we sent it out to everybody in the market center in Slack who was at family reunion, and then a couple of my friends in other states came and got tested from this lady, and some of us were okay and some of us were pretty severe in terms of our results. And so it's like Ed says, just one more day, or one more, or in your case, one less cookie, but having the results and knowing is different than completely ignoring it, like I did for so many years. And a lot of you know my health journey, but I ignored it for years, and then I finally took control. But I still have a ways to go. But it's what's one thing that you can do, just that 1%, right? So anyways, we talked to her, and she was like, I'll fly out there with my machine. And we're like, okay. So we'll just get the whole market center tested for everyone, whoever wants to get tested. Scotty.
That was my one takeaway from Ed Milet. Because I'll go back, what does Bold say? No man enters the same river twice, because the river is not the same, nor is the man. Like, how many more stories do we have to hear before it hits you? It's just like you could read a Bible verse 50 million times, but if you're going through some crap and you read that verse, it hits you like a brick, right? Yeah. So Ed Milet talked about having an interview with a guy, bringing a guy on his podcast, and I'm sorry I don't remember the players or the names, but they met, they had a great time, they became like soul brothers, like loved it. And they were texting, and he was like, why don't you fly your wife out, meet with my wife, let's have dinner tomorrow night, or whatever it was. And on your phone where you have the ... where someone's texting you back.
You can see that they're texting.
You can see that it never came, and he found out the guy died of a heart attack that night.
Right when they were texting.
And so he was like, if I could have gone
Rachel
back.
Hollis says that.
No, that was, he mentioned him, but this particular guy was the other guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, the comedian, that's right.
Oh,
Because he said they're the best storytellers or whatever. He's like, if I could have, the day before we were on the podcast, whispered to him and said,
yeah.
Like, what if we knew?
Yeah. What you whispered was, what if he would have said,
and the one I wrote down is, you only have one more Monday. He was talking about somebody else that also died like that, and what if I only have one more Monday?
Yeah.
Do you want to waste it? No.
Bullshit? No, which is exactly why we're talking about this, right? I gotta turn away or I'm gonna lose it looking at you. Half the shit that we worry about just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. More than likely, the transaction is going to close. Quit making it up in your mind that it is just this urgent thing that you have to drop everything for. Yes. Right? Boy, this is exactly where we needed to be today, huh? In terms of the conversation. So I'll email you out a couple of things, but I really want to be more intentional with this group. And my hope and prayer is that you come back on April 5th or 4th or whatever, first Monday, and let's hear about the one thing that you implemented, the one habit that you implemented, so that we can learn from each other and we can get better, right? So that it's just not a constant, we're going to talk about it, not implement anything. I'm not asking you to time block from 5 in the morning until 5 at night. I'm asking you to find one thing and do it every day business day between now, or if it's something that you're gonna do personally, cool, then do it every day. And then let's talk about it in April. Okay? Give yourselves a hand. Thank you for being here.
I'm gonna call her, text her my left.
Good luck, Chuck.
So,
I know, and I like. It's not like I can walk through that.
Oh, it's heavy and battery. Right, they printed it from the corner office.
Yeah.
yeah.